I'm calling to order the Pinal County Community College District Governing Board meeting, August 15th, 2023. Welcome, everyone. We're pleased to have you here. And the first order of business, if Dr. Odiorn could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item, well, I might note that all the board members are present and Mr. Walker is online with us today, so thank you for joining us. So the next item on the agenda is, I have a motion for the adoption of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Call to the public, nothing. Okay, thank you, Angela. Appreciate that. We're moving on to action items. Number 5, consideration of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Motion to approve consent agenda?
All right. Is there?
Second.
All right, and Ms. Smith? All right, been moved and seconded to consider the consideration of the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, moving on to item 6. Very exciting, the new build Superstition Mountain Campus, GMP2. Mr. Salas.
Good afternoon, Madam President, governing board members, Dr. Elliott, Mary Lou, faculty, staff, and guests. This is to propose the guaranteed maximum price 2 for early procurement and buyout at the SMC construction project. To maintain the proposed construction schedule and meet the substantial completion per discussion with the college, the design build proposes to buy out the scopes of work listed in the board packet. The approval for this GMP will be critical not only for a schedule standpoint, but also to reduce the current uncertainty in the construction market with price fluctuations and possible escalation risks by locking in material supply with the various associated suppliers. It is proposed that the governing board approve the guaranteed maximum price 2, early procurement and buyout.
All right, any questions for Mr. Salas? This kind of moves us along on this project. No questions, so the, oh, go ahead, Mr. Walker.
I can't see if he has an overhead projector of some sort there to show you what's going on. Go over here and I'll pull it right by, and I see some activity there, but I don't see very much activity. All I've seen so far is clearing away of brush. Is there a plan for groundbreaking or?
Oh, we haven't got to that point yet. All the material is in the packet. There's not a PowerPoint for this item. It's just all in the packet. And as far as breaking ground,
When we, actually, I was going to report on this. Construction is starting this month on the C building remodel, but we're not to the breaking ground yet of the construction. This is just to lock in the cost of the materials to procure for the construction.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, Dr. Odiorn? Thank you, Jerry.
I move that we approve this proposal as presented.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, Dr. Odiorn and Ms. Smith, to approve the recommendation as presented. All those, or any other questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, passed
Thank you.
unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Salas. All right, next item, next 2 items on the agenda belong to Ms. Lawson.
All right, good afternoon, board members, Dr. Elliott, Mary Lou, and guests. Provided to you in your packet and information is the presentation that Dr. Jeff Ling is going to present from Evergreen Solutions, and then we'll move forward to our action items. So these.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to present a summary of the compensation classification study, We have enjoyed working with your staff and faculty over the course of this year, and we're very excited to talk to you about what we proposed and the feedback that we've received in regards to the work that we've done with you, what we learned, as well as what we found out within the marketplace. There should be a PowerPoint.
Hello?
Yes. Okay. All right, we're in business.
Hello?
Yes, Jerry? Hold on one moment.
Okay.
Are we breaking up there, or is he not speaking to
No,
the microphone?
he-
or what?
Yes, the microphone has been adjusted.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear him now?
I can hear you
Okay, how about me?
breaking up.
Breaking up?
Oh. Well, he's speaking right into the microphone.
I'll move a little bit closer. Is that better?
Does that help, Jerry?
A little.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll speak up a little bit to see if that helps. Very, very briefly, who is Evergreen? Many times in meeting with a board for the first time, we'll introduce ourselves before talking about your results. We're a national public sector management consulting firm. We have a team that specializes in higher education. We've worked in 46 states with 800 studies of similar scope to what you requested. Within higher education, we work with anywhere from 30 to 40 two-year institutions a year to somewhere between 5 and 10 four-year institutions per year. So our footprint is principally in working with two-year institutions that serve the communities that they're within. What I have for you this afternoon is a brief overview of our market methodology. How did we approach this, and taking a look at where you are vis-a-vis the marketplace? What did we find in those results? And I'll share with you both ways that we looked at the information that we received, and then principally spend my time on the third bullet, on the recommendations that we'd like to bring forward today. So how did we approach this? We went through a process with your employees to give you a little bit of background of having them have an opportunity to speak with us directly, share their thoughts, their perceptions. We gave them a chance to tell us about what they do, how often they do that type of work, what are some concerns or considerations they wanted us to make sure that we consider as we go through this process. And then we looked externally. And this slide talks about the external component, where we selected organizations within your local or regional area to compare you to in regards to pay practices. One thing we heard time and again, not only from your employees, but also from your leadership team, is that you draw employees not only from the county or the local area, but you also draw from Maricopa County or from the greater Phoenix area. And having made that commute this morning, or our drive down this morning, I can see that drive would not be too bad of a drive to make each day. And so we did look at the data two different ways, one with only utilizing a cost of living differential within your own county, and then a second way where we used 2/3 of an influence, or 2/3 of the value of this county and 1/3 of Maricopa's influence. And so we ran the numbers both ways. I have the latter to share with you today because in conversations, again, with your leadership team and with your employees, time and again it was mentioned, I live within Maricopa County, but I commute to work for the college here. Salary ranges was our principal focus. We did take a look at average actuals, or what my gross take-home pay would be, but principally we were looking at how good of a job the institution has done in regards to earning potential that employees would have. What we found on the staff survey, and I'll present staff separate from faculty. On the staff survey, we found that you were in line overall with the minimum, midpoint, and maximum. So most institutions have a range. They pay a minimum amount when someone comes to work for the institution. If I remain with the institution over time, I may progress to the midpoint, eventually to the maximum. What we found is you start off on average slightly behind, about 2%, which would be within the margin of error. In comparing you to that hybrid, that combination of the two counties. By midpoint, you're roughly at market, and you're slightly ahead, again, within the margin of error when you reach maximum. Those numbers would point to us that overall you have similar earning potential to what your peers would have in regards to staff. That doesn't mean that my take-home pay or my gross take-home pay would necessarily be in line with what would be present within the marketplace, but it would indicate that my earning potential would be similar. For faculty, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. For faculty, we found a little bit different story. We found that on average, you start faculty off relatively market responsive. Literally before driving over to meet with you today, I was speaking with an institution in Texas where we had a similar conversation that they do a very good job of bringing assistant professors or the equivalent of lecturers and assistant professors in the door, but over the course of time, and if they remain with the institution, even if they're promoted, what ends up happening is they fall a little bit further behind each year after year. And that's what we found with your faculty as well, that by the time, if I reach midpoint and remain with Central Arizona, I'm about 13% on average behind the marketplace. And if I remain to the end of my career and I'm lucky enough to make it to maximum, it's just about 25% behind. That's not unusual. Again, as I mentioned, many institutions have focused, especially since the COVID period, on being more competitive at the minimum, or when they bring in faculty, having a hard time getting new faculty to come in, especially in STEM fields or more specialized fields, on the non-traditional, on the vocational side, but they haven't invested as heavily in those faculty that are further in the range or deeper within their career. And so we found a similar conclusion among the data when comparing your faculty. With the staff recommendations, what we're recommending are two options for your consideration. One option would be to simply implement the appropriate pay ranges. And so there's about a 4% differential that we're finding will occur this year. So you're roughly at market today. Most of your peers are estimating they will do about a 4% change in the upcoming period or budget period. So keeping your structure relatively similar to it is now, bringing up the bottom to take into account those changes that are taking place. It's important to note that the cost of living differential is not necessarily the cost of wage differential. Not every college is increasing wages by what the cost of living was in the last year. Many are taking some percentage of that or some portion of that. And among the peers that we compared you to, it was right around 4% that they're moving their pay ranges in the coming year. In addition, your range spreads should remain at 50 to 61%. They're relatively in line. 50 to 70% is what we found among your peers. So the earning potential over the course of my career is relatively similar. There are some pay grades that we found not only that are appropriate, but the placement of the individual jobs would not be appropriate. And so this is where there's been appreciation in the value of my job, and I'm in a lower pay grade than what the market would indicate. And so there are some adjustments there in number 3 that we're recommending in the report. Adjustments based on other positions that would be impacted by those changes. So for example, if myself and my direct report both are found to be off the market, but I'm closer to the market and my direct report moves up, I may need to move up as well, although I'm relatively close to the market, to preserve that differential between myself and my direct report. And then there's some individual salary adjustments that we're recommending on the comp ratio, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. The bring to minimum would only ensure that everyone is in the appropriate pay grade or pay range. It wouldn't take care of compression. It wouldn't be concerned about if I've been here longer than someone else or someone has been here a shorter period of time than I have. It just simply indicates everyone's in the right box, not that they're paid the right amount of money. The comp ratio would look at how far I am from the midpoint currently. And so it would index me against the new midpoint. So if I was one of the folks that was behind within the marketplace and I move up from a midpoint of 50,000 to a midpoint of 55,000 in my new range, and I had roughly 80% of that midpoint in pay before, comp ratio ensures that I have 80% of that new midpoint based on the recommendations. So it keeps the order of individuals relatively the same. And that's why many institutions look at that as an option, because if I've been rewarded, if I've been with the institution longer, if I've done more, I've gone above and beyond, it preserves those differentials by using that comp ratio as the approach. There's a variety of plans that you have here. You do have your plans segmented by employee category. We are recommending some adjustments there. Again, 4% is what we looked at as that differential that would occur between this year and next year, taking into account what your peers are doing over that period of time. And then on faculty, before we get to faculty, there's a couple pros and cons that go along with each of these. With bring to minimum, it is the most affordable, because I'm just making sure that the person makes the minimum of the range that they deserve to be placed within. It does move everyone into the new range, which is a positive thing, but it can create compression, and compression being the idea that if I've been with the institution longer than someone else, there should be a certain distance between myself and that other person. And bring to minimum does not take that into account or factor that into the calculation. With comp ratio, as I mentioned, it moves employees based on their current placement or their current distance from each other, and it does not factor in time with the current or previous classification. So one difference with it is if I've been with the institution for a long period of time and for some reason the institution has not given me credit for that, comp ratio does not take that into account. It's looking at where do I fall today and ensuring that I fall in this relatively the same place in the new plan that's being proposed. For faculty, we are recommending that you widen the ranges that you have. Again, you're relatively competitive based on the market when you hire the faculty member, but over time they're losing that competitiveness, so we need to stretch that distance that they can move through the range. We are recommending 25 steps for faculty with 2% in between. Many two-year institutions maintain step plans or continue to maintain step plans with faculty. Many have rows as well as ranges within their system where it takes into account education, especially beyond a master's degree. And so we are recommending that you take into account not only time with the institution, but level of education. And we are recommending that they be placed within the new ranges or the revised ranges, either by bring to minimum or by comp ratio. But we are recommending comp ratio. So again, if I've been rewarded as a faculty member for the contribution that I've made, I've had stronger reviews of my students, I've served on more committees, I've received some type of recognition, that's being factored in with the comp ratio where the bring to minimum would not. Here's the two pay plans, the 9-month and 12-month that we're recommending. There is a market differential or market change that's taking place there. It's just about 11%. The 4% and 11% are not the raises people are receiving. So many times employees will hear us talk about what the market difference is, and they'll say, I'm ready for my check to come out and see my 11%. That's not what that indicates. It's simply how much we change the structure or the degree to which we change the structure, taking into account that the data analysis that we conducted. What are the costs of putting these two things into place? Just so you can see the bring to minimum versus the comp ratio. The bring to minimum for total cost, and this includes faculty and staff, and I'm happy to show you in a few moments the division between the two. The bring to minimum is about $91,000 reoccurring salary dollars just to get everyone on the right plan. And that affects about 92 employees. It's about $988 or about 0.4% of your total payroll that you have today. So this is a good thing. What this indicates is that you didn't have too many employees that over time have not been rewarded in a market standpoint, and now this needs to be fixed as part of the recommendations we're making. However, when we place them within where they should fall within the range, the time they have with the institution, the experience that they have, any other factor you've used to progress them through the range over time, it's roughly $2.3 million of reoccurring salary cost. Again, doesn't factor in benefits. It impacts 361 total employees. It's an average increase of about $6,500, and it runs about 10.1% of payroll. One of the questions that was posed to us, given the size of the number that we're talking about, is do institutions divide this into multiple years? And the answer is yes. Many times institutions do. It would be about 5%. Naturally, if it's 10%, if you broke it in half, it would be just about 5% per year. Many times we're asked by boards, does that mean I don't need to do an increase next year or the year after if I do this? And the answer is, in less inflationary periods, sometimes. In more inflationary periods like we're in now, it's maybe. And the reason why it's maybe is inflation has dropped. I know we've probably all seen that. It is coming back toward the trend line, or seems to indicate that. I believe within the Phoenix area, it's the year over year was right around 5%, 4.8. If you remained at that level, giving 5% next year, would that deal with everything you needed to with inflation as well as the implementation of the study? And the answer would be no. You probably would be looking at some type of adjustment for inflation, potentially that you would do in conjunction with the 5% that's been identified. And then this is simply a breakout of how the dollars would be divided between faculty and staff. With the comp ratio, it's just about 1.2 on the staff side. For 280 employees it would impact, and about almost 1.1 million on the faculty side. So it's almost an even distribution between the two groups when we look at the whole package of the comp ratio between both. So I appreciate your time and your attention this afternoon. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Any questions from the board? That was very straightforward. Thank you for the presentation.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lang. If there's no questions for Evergreen at this time, as provided to you in your board packet, we are recommending that you adopt the new salary schedule as presented.
I'll make that motion.
All right,
I second that.
all right. It's been moved and seconded to approve the salary recommendation as presented. Any discussion? None here. Okay, very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Very good. Thank you.
Perfect.
You have another one.
I do. I have the next one. Yeah, we'll make it quick. So you've also been provided the background and information in your board packet. As presented in your board packet, we do recommend that the board approve the compa ratio plan that was recommended.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the proposal?
I'll make that motion.
All right, Ms. Smith, thank
So
you.
moved.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the compa ratio plan as presented. Any questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion
Thank
carries.
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all that work, seeing that it hadn't been done for a very long time. All right. Now we have information items, so Dr. Elliott.
Good afternoon, President Kasuga, governing board members, faculty, staff, and guests. I am presenting to you for first reading, so no action is required, an addition to the board's policies on how the board governs itself. And this change was based on the Attorney General's requirement that all of our agendas be submitted to the legal counsel for review prior to publication. So it was just an additional sentence, and it's in red there in your policy.
Right, this is nothing new, it's just an additional line at the end of the policy, and we don't take any action today.
No.
Correct. Okay, any questions to Dr. Elliott? We are doing this under the advisement of our own attorney as well as the recommendation from the Attorney General, so I guess we'll see this next month again? All right.
Correct.
For approval. Okay, so I'm going to move ahead. Thank you for that. We've got reports. Oh, back to you, Dr. Elliott.
Thank you. I have a couple district updates I'd like to share with you. As I mentioned earlier, construction at SMC is beginning this month. The first part of the project includes the remodeling of the C building. If you remember, that's the building that houses the kitchen and cafeteria area. The remodel includes adding a virtual reality lab, some faculty offices, the police department office, and some classrooms. So it's going to get a really nice refresh. Also, we are currently working with an individual who is interested in leasing the kitchen and dining area at the Aravaipa campus to open a restaurant. We're really excited about this because this will help increase activity at the campus. The foundation is hosting a golf tournament on October 28th to support the George Young Scholarship. Great work by Craig and his team putting this together. And if you're interested in registering, there's information on the website, or you can get with Craig after the meeting. Also, as you may be aware, we paused the volleyball program in 2017. However, due to the excellent work of Athletic Director Shelby Davis, she was able to revive the program this year. And I'm happy to note we have a head coach, a full team, and they've already been practicing. So that's really exciting for us to have that back on campus. Enrollment for the fall right now is trending a little bit, about 500 students less than last year. However, the CAC enrollment, recruitment, and admissions teams have been working tirelessly with their enrollment roadshows and other activities, and is anticipated that enrollments will continue to grow up until the first day of classes, which is Monday. And the last thing I'd like to announce that we have been awarded military-friendly silver status
Sweet.
again for the 23-24 academic year, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions or comments from the board? Congratulations on that awarding of the new re-awarding of the same status. Great. Okay, very good. Thank you, Dr. Elliott. Next item is, well, first of all, welcome to Dr. Scaldini, and you're up, sir.
Thank you. I'm Dick Scaldini. I'm the interim vice president for operations and finance. I'm on my third day at Central Arizona College, and consequently, since I was not able to participate in the preparation of the financial statements and absorb them completely, I have the good fortune to be able to defer to my colleague Louisa Ott to present the statements. so I'll turn the podium over to Louisa now.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes, sir. Jerry, go ahead.
We need to do something about this sound system because I can hear about every fourth word.
Okay, so we'll try to have Louisa speak right into the mic.
Madam President, governing board members, Dr. Elliott, Mary Lou, guests, and colleagues. I'm going to present the monthly budget report. The monthly budget report reflects year-to-date as of June 2023. June of 2023 shows the district operating fund expenditures are at 88.58% of the total budget. This is a decrease of 1.97% from June of 2022, which was at 90.55%. Any questions on the monthly budget report? All right, next we have the awarded bids over $20,000. There is a list provided in your packet of all awards, awarded bids over $20,000. Any questions on that list?
None. All right.
All right, that's the end of the business report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Louisa, and welcome, Dr. Scaldini. All right, the last formal item on the agenda is a student services project report. Dr. Cardenas.
All right. Hello, President Kasuga, board members, Dr. Elliott, colleagues, students, and guests that are here with us today. So it won't be just me presenting. We also will have Travaris Peterson, if you would come up. He is our Director of Student Engagement. So the presentation was going to be Andy Long, our Dean of Enrollment Services, as well as Travaris. And there actually is a new student orientation this afternoon. So he and lots of his team members are at the Superstition Mountain campus today. Right. So to get started, that didn't work. There we go. This is not the right one, yeah. I don't think I want to present on this one.
We did that one already.
That's good. No? Okay.
Should always back up to the backup.
Should I wait or continue?
It's up to you if we need the PowerPoint.
I think I can continue and I guess. Yep, it's the other one. No, the other one. All right. Okay. So the two different items that we'll talk about today are the Guided Pathways Student Experience Project and then Effective Entry projects that we've been focused on over the year. There are several other projects that Student Services is working on, but these are the two that we wanted to provide updates, especially in light of where we are in the semester as we're starting semester start. All right, so the first is effective entry, and this is the part that Dean Long would have presented on had he not been at New Student Orientation. I thought it was really important, and he thought it was really important to share with everyone first that we did launch the new admissions application. It's been quite some time that we have been working on this process with IT, with Anthology, our student services areas, and so many people that have put a lot of work into developing an admissions application that is specific to CAC that meets the needs of our students and staff as well. It launched last month, and although we did have some initial hiccups, they were quickly addressed, and what we're finding now is that students are receiving their welcome email to the college within about 30 minutes. Some are finding them in their spam boxes. But they are getting to the students very quickly, and then students have a quick turnaround time that they're able to register for classes. So whereas before, it was questionable if they would receive the email, and if so, it was taking time for them to get it, as well as having a paper admissions form for so long. This has been a huge improvement for our students as a part of their effective entry to CAC. Also, we had seen a pretty sharp decline in the number of students who were participating in new student orientation in the years even prior to COVID. This past year, or this past month actually, you can see the numbers. These were all registrations within the last orientations that we had just this past week. So the SMC orientation this evening, that's the one that's happening, that's shown here. But we've also provided, our outreach team developed a 30-minute new student orientation video for students who aren't able to make it face-to-face, and that's being used by lots of students as well. The other, and we've spoken about this before, but again, this year we've seen an increase in our dual enrollment sections. We're up to 117 different sections, and I have to say that a lot of that also has to do with the support that we've had from academics and our academic liaison, Amanda Potts, who's really put in a lot of time to ensure that faculty know what their next steps are as they're teaching classes, and really helping with the process, along with the tremendous work that the outreach team has done. And there's a link there for the high school program steps to apply, just so you are able to see kind of what the steps are for high school programs as well. The next one is academic advising, and I'm just going to share a couple pieces of information. One is information and sharing that in the month of August alone, our academic advisors see between 500 and 600 or have between 500 and 600 30-minute appointments each week. So we have a tremendous amount of students who are wanting to meet with their academic advisors and plan for their futures and ensure that they're on the right path and sticking to their path as they're selecting classes. The academic advising redesign, I think, has really contributed to this as well, in that students are meeting with advisors that are specific to their needs. So whether it's as a new student or a continuing student, and looking at program-specific type items. So this has been a very successful program thus far, or redesign thus far. The last is really sharing that our students have 3 ways to register, and this is information, I think, for everyone, in that, number one, prior to or during the fall semester of 2018, we had 3% of our students that used the online registration process. We weren't set up in a way that made it functional, or I don't know that students or our staff trusted the process that was set up at that point. Since then, we've done a tremendous amount of work, along with, again, academics and our curriculum office, in developing our degree progress audit. And as of this fall, we had 44% of our students effectively use the student portal to register for classes. I do believe that number could be increased, and a lot of that will come with being able to communicate to students that this is an effective way to register, that when they go through the portal, it happens instantaneously, that they're able to be placed into the class. The second option is they can come on campus and do so in person, and we've actually seen a lot more traffic on each of our campuses of students coming on campus to register. That happens at the point that they hand over their registration forms or complete their registration forms. And the third is the email process, and this is what we used during the pandemic, of what students that are returning students have relied on for quite some time, and what we're trying to get them to transition away from now. There is a form that was created online that makes it much easier. However, this goes into a queue where then staff have to go in and manually make the changes that are requested, both for dropping and adding. So we wanted to make sure that students were aware and everyone in the community was aware. It is available to do so that way, but it certainly isn't the most efficient way to get into courses quickly. And as we see, they're filling up very quickly, and we have lots of students on wait lists to get into some of our classes. All right, student experience. There you go, and just pull that down.
Gotcha. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Elliott, esteemed board members, for allowing me to come and talk about the student experience. I'd like to just introduce myself, as this is my first time at the governing board meeting. My name is Travaris Peterson. I'm currently the Director of Student Engagement here at Central Arizona College. And so with the student experience, we wanted to focus more not just on the engagement in terms of the activities and events that we host here at the college, but also the leadership potential and growth that we can have within each of our students. And so when we talk about leadership, one of my most recent hires was to make my one-person department become a two-person department, and I loved it. And so we hired Alexandra Nathan as my coordinator of student engagement, who oversees the Santan and Superstition Mountain campuses, which gives me an opportunity to focus more primarily here at the Signal Peak campus and the Maricopa campuses as well. Within that leadership scope, myself and our former Dean of Student Development developed a pilot program called the Dean Student Advisory Council, which essentially was a spinoff of a student government association. And so we've continued that pilot program. We've changed the name to the Council of Student Advisors upon request from the students. And so right now, currently, we have 12 active members at our Maricopa campus, which is our most active campus. And we are currently working to have that here at Signal Peak, Santan, and Superstition Mountain as well. We do have weekly meetings with our Maricopa campus students every Wednesday to just discuss their student experience and how we can help them better achieve their success while they're here. So leading into that, we have our clubs and organizations, and with the engagement aspect of it, it's been tough after COVID and everything happened, and students choosing the virtual options, but now students are choosing to be in person. And so what has changed with that is students coming to us and wanting to develop these groups. And so I like to use clubs and organizations because it's traditional and we know what that means. But I'm also letting them know that, whatever they identify with, that also includes a club and organization. And so I have let them know that identity groups also can be formed as well. And so that has led to different activities and events coming up within our Welcome Week and within the actual school year to have club and resource fairs for these students to promote their clubs and engage some members. And lastly, our student employment. So instead of just hiring a student engagement assistant and saying, help me at events, I took a different approach to it and called them peer navigators in terms of having this student be a leader at their campus, be the ones at these new student orientations to talk about student engagement from a student's perspective. Students can only listen to me for so long before they that's your job. That's what you're supposed to tell us, right? But if they hear it from a student, it kind of changes their perspective and what they bring to the table. And so we're looking for new opportunities within that. We have our esports room as well. We're trying to get a club for that so we can compete, not only within ourselves, but also within the county as well. And this is just an example of our Welcome Week. And so what we wanted to focus on, like I said, wasn't just the pizza and the ice cream, which it's a part of that. It's fine, free food for students, they love that. But we also wanted to focus on how do we engage them and connect them to resources within the campus and within their community. And so I'm sorry, because mine's on Wednesday. So on Tuesday at Santan, that's our resource fair. So that'll have the community, some community members come. We're going to have some other university partners show up as well as our clubs and organizations on campus. And so this is kind of the template for a majority of our campuses. Each campus is different, unique to their community. So I let those students help us decide kind of what the process is and what it looks like for the program and when it comes to that. And then the link on the bottom is to our events calendar. We will have a finalized version available 1 September for the fall 2023 semester and then the spring 2024 semester as well. And it'll just be continually updated as we see more events being added to the calendar as well. Any questions for us?
I don't know. Any questions of the board? Very exciting. Tavares, and nice to meet you and have you present to us today. It looks like you've got a lot on your hands, but all good stuff.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Right. Any other questions or comments?
Just think it's a great job. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you.
I did want to add one additional thing for the board is when Tavares introduced Alexandra Nathan, it might be a familiar name for some of you. She was one of our students here at CAC and was very involved in different organizations, I believe both PTK and honors. when she was here and is now graduated from university and is back and working here at CAC. So it was really exciting to have the two of them paired together to serve our students. It was very exciting to see. The other thing is Travaris has really focused a lot on ensuring that the students are guiding the path. So with all of the activities that are happening, with the types of activities, with the times that they're offered, all of that, the students are really dictating what they want and what their peers will want as well. So it's been fun to see and also to realize, as I think we've known, that we definitely don't know. The students lead the way. So thank you. Thank you, Travaris, as well.
Great, thank you for the presentation this afternoon. All right, that was the last formal item on the agenda. Before I adjourn, I just want to remind everyone, our next board meeting is September 19th, Maricopa campus. So we haven't been there for a little bit, so it's time to visit that. And, okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for being here.